Hello, first years. I hope all is well. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and I'm wishing you a happy new year. So, we're going to move on to some biology, and we're going to be studying the circulatory system over the next 3 weeks. So, to start off today's lesson, I'd like you to answer the following questions in your book. You don't need to write out the question. Just write out the answer in a full sentence and I'll go through them with you now. So pause the video now and answer the questions. Right, so an element is made up of one type of atom. What is a compound? A compound is when two different elements, or two different atoms are joined together chemically. What is a mixture? A mixture is two or more different substances that are mixed together. They're easily separated because they're not chemically joined together or chemically bonded. What is filtration used for? I wonder if you got that. So it's used to separate two substances. Can you remember what the two substances were? It's to separate a solid that is insoluble from a liquid. Can you remember what insoluble means? It means that it can't dissolve in a liquid. What is the function of the cell membrane? That's like a gate. It controls what goes in and out of the cell. And what's the nucleus? The nucleus controls everything in the cell. Can you guys remember what is located inside the nucleus? Yeah, you have it, DNA. Okay, so what is the circulatory system composed of? If you look at that diagram here, what can you see in the diagram? What's this? Yeah, it's the heart. Very good. What does this here represent? Yeah, it's the blood. What about all these other things? All these other tubes? What are they? Blood vessels. Very good. So the circulatory system is composed of three things: the heart, the blood, and the blood vessels. So you can pause the video and take that down now. Okay, so you should be able to say, what is the circulatory system comprised of? You should be able to answer that question. So I'd like you to pause the video. You can memorize that, give yourself a minute, and then answer that question back, or answer it out loud now. Okay, so the circulatory system is composed of three things: the blood, the heart, and blood vessels. Now, what are the functions of the circulatory system? Can you pause the video and think of some? Okay, let's have a look. I'm going to give you some clues. So this is the first picture, and this relays a function of the circulatory system. So what do you think it is? What do we use that for? Exactly, transport. Right, now I want you to think about, well, what are we transporting in the circulatory system? What is the blood transporting? Can you think of anything? How about you have a look at these pictures? So what do you think the blood transports? What's this here? Okay, it transports oxygen. What is this molecule here? CO, and you've got two of them, so it's CO2. It also transports carbon dioxide, very good. And what does this represent? It's obviously sugar. What's the fancy name for sugar that we use in class? Begins with a G. Glucose. So one function is to transport oxygen, carbon dioxide, and glucose around our body. What's the other function? Can you guess in the picture? It's to regulate or control our body temperature. You don't want it too high, you don't want it too low. You want it just right at 37.5 degrees. And that's because we need it for these special things called enzymes to work properly. Okay, what about the last one? What do you think it's doing here? What is the blood doing here? What does that symbolize? Yeah, it's fighting infection. So three things we can think of. So it's used to transport oxygen, carbon dioxide, and glucose, and other things around our body as well, like hormones and amino acids. Lots of different things to control our body temperature and to fight infection. Right. I want you to take this down in your book, all of it. You You should have these notes in your book. And this is a word bank to help you to figure out what they mean. Now, I really want you to be resilient. Like, try and make sure that you do this properly on your own. Don't just keep going with this video and to get the answers. See what you've learned. Okay, so pause the video now and have a go. Okay, well done for pushing through with that. So the functions of the circulatory system are transport. The something system, the circulatory system, transports, and that should be oxygen and glucose to our cells. Now, it doesn't matter if you've got them in reverse, it's totally fine. It also removes wastes, such as carbon dioxide from our cells. It also carries hormones around our body. Hormones can help us to grow. So we're transporting oxygen and glucose to our cells because the cells need those to get energy, and that's in a process called respiration. We'll learn about that later. So blood carries oxygen and glucose to our cells for respiration, and then in respiration it produces a waste substance which is called carbon dioxide, and that carbon dioxide leaves our cells and it goes into our blood, and then that's transported to our lungs and we breathe that out. But it also carries around things like hormones which help us to grow. Right, it regulates the temperature. So as blood moves around the body, heat is transferred between different organs. Do you remember what an organ was? Let's start with a tissue, actually. What is a tissue? A tissue is a group of cells with the same shape and function. What is an organ? An organ is a group of different tissues working together to carry out a function. And then you've got an organ system, which is a group of different organs working together to carry out a function. Right, protection. If we cut ourselves, it helps us to prevent blood loss. And that's why you get a scab, you basically form a little blood. If you cut yourself, you get a little blood clot, and then it scabs over, and then you grow new skin over that. So that helps protect us from losing loads of blood. And it can help us fight infections caused by viruses and bacteria. So that actually is a little mistake there. So it can help us to fight infections caused by viruses, bacteria. Forgive my mistake there. Well done, guys. Okay, so you should be able to now answer all these questions. So I'm going to give you should pause the video now, give yourself maybe 2 or 3 minutes to memorize what you've done in today's lesson. And I would expect that you know the answers to these 5 questions. So what is the circulatory system comprised of? Blood, heart, blood vessels. What are the 3 functions of the circulatory system? So it transfers heat around our body, it defends us against infection, and it transports oxygen and glucose around our body. What substances does the blood transport to our cells? We said out of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and glucose, it only transports oxygen and glucose to our cells. What substances does the blood take away from our cells? Carbon dioxide. There should be a question mark at the end of that. You're seeing all my mistakes, and I'm noticing myself now. And how does the circulatory system protect us? So it helps us to form blood clots, so that we don't lose blood, and it helps us to fight viruses and bacteria. Well done, and we'll check in now on the next day for the next lesson. I expect to see all of that work in your book.